Some business processes, they're just not clean and simple, right? They're messy, they're unpredictable, and they can drag on for weeks. So today, we're going to dive into a new way to tame that chaos using a really powerful tool called UiPath Maestro Case Management.
So, does this whole scenario sound a little too familiar? Just imagine you're trying to manage hundreds of home loan applications or insurance claims. Every single one is different. It's passing through multiple teams, approvals, reviews, and it's constantly getting sent back and forth. It's just a massive headache trying to keep track of everything.
And that right there is the core problem. For so long, we've thought about automation as this perfectly straight line, a simple process from point A to point B. But the second it hits the real world, boom, that model just falls apart when a case has to be sent back for more info. That's where traditional automation really starts to struggle. And believe me, this creates some major headaches. You've got no single case to follow, so visibility, gone. The process models are way too rigid to handle any changes. Trying to manage rework is a total nightmare, and your people, they're stuck jumping between 10 different systems with no clear picture of what's going on. So what's the fix? Well, instead of fighting the chaos and trying to force a straight line, what if we could actually orchestrate it? That's the whole idea behind this new capability, UiPath Maestro Case Management. Okay, so what is it really? The best way to think about it is like an orchestra conductor for really complex work. It's not about one single isolated task. It's about managing the entire situation, like that insurance claim, by bringing together your AI agents, your software robots, and your people to get to one final, completely trackable outcome.
And this is where it gets really good because it directly tackles those pain points we just talked about. Instead of losing track of everything, you get a single case object with a full history. Instead of those rigid, breakable models, you get a visual canvas to map out how the process actually works. And that rework nightmare, solved with smart, rule-based re-entry. It's like having the perfect tool for each specific problem.
Okay, so that's the big promise, right? But how does it actually work under the hood? Let's break down the core concepts, the actual building blocks that make all of this orchestration possible. First up, you have what are called stages. Just think of them as the big milestones in any case. So you might have an intake stage, then a review stage, and finally a resolution stage. And here's the key part. You get to define the rules for how a case gets in and out of each one. And this is what it actually looks like. The best part? You're not stuck digging through lines of code. You're on this visual canvas, literally dragging and dropping to map out the entire flow of your business, connecting one stage to the next. It's super intuitive. All right, so inside each of those big stages, you have the smaller tasks. These are the specific jobs that actually need to get done. And this is where the real teamwork happens. A task can be for an AI, a bot, or a person, which means you can literally pick the best player for every single job. I mean, look at this. You get this whole amazing toolkit to play with. Within just one stage, you could have a bot kick off a workflow, then have an AI agent analyze some data, and then have it all land in a person's queue for the final sign-off. You're always using the right tool for the right task. Okay, so we've got the concepts down. Now let's make this real and see how it all clicks together with a classic example, a home insurance claim. So what you're seeing here is the entire game plan mapped out. You've got your happy path, right? Intake, review, settlement, closure. Simple. But, and this is important, look over here, it's already planned for exceptions, like when you're waiting on the customer or if a claim is denied. The whole journey is right there. But we all know things are never that simple. The real world is messy. So what happens when you're in that review stage and somebody realizes, uh-oh, we're missing the key incident reports? So what now? Do you have to scrap the whole thing and start from scratch? Nope, you absolutely don't. And honestly, this is a total game changer. Maestro lets you do something called targeted re-entry. You can set up a rule that says, hey, if these reports are missing, send the case back to the intake stage. But it's even smarter than that. You can send it back to the exact tasks that need to be redone without making someone repeat the whole stage. It makes that whole rework process incredibly precise and super efficient. All right, so we've seen how a case is built and how it can handle all that messy complexity, but who's actually using this stuff? Let's check out the toolkit and who it's for. What's so powerful about this is that we're talking about the entire life cycle all in one spot. It's not just a bunch of separate tools you have to piece together. You can model your process, implement the automation, operate the live cases, and then monitor and optimize everything, all under one roof. That's huge. And the engine driving this whole life cycle, it's really three core pieces.
You have the case plan designer for building out the process, the case instance management for watching over it, and the case app where people actually interact with it. Each one is built for a different kind of user.
So let's break down who uses what. It's pretty straightforward. The case plan designer? That's the playground for your architects and developers who are mapping out the flow. Case instance management is for your operators, the folks who need to keep an eye on everything that's running. And the case app is the home base for your business users, the people doing the work day in and day out. And this is where you can really see how it all just connects. On one screen, a developer could be setting a 30-day service level agreement, an SLA, for a claim, and at the same time, they're configuring the app that the business user is going to see. It's this beautiful, seamless bridge between the back-end design and the front-end experience. So when you kind of step back and look at the whole picture, you realize this isn't just another feature. It's a really fundamental shift in how we should be thinking about business process automation. It really empowers three key groups of people. You've got the business user who's managing the work, the process designer who's modeling the workflow, and the automation developer who's bringing it all to life with the bots and AI. At the end of the day, here's the big takeaway. We're moving past just ticking off a list of separate tasks. This is about stepping up and truly orchestrating complex end-to-end work, all the way from the initial trigger to the final outcome. So I'll leave you with this one question to think about. When you look at your own complex processes, are you really orchestrating how work gets done, or are you still just stuck processing the pieces?